Hey everyone, good evening. All right, so let me quickly start with your batch. Just give me a moment. Let me quickly revise what we have already completed in the last lecture. 208 development methods. Just give me a moment.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. On parameterized method. Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. So guys, we have in the last lecture, I have started with the concepts of procedures typically, and non-parameterized procedure out of the context we have seen. So let me take a quick recap of the things what we have already seen in the last session. So I started with this like in the class, there are two different forms of members. Variables, what you have defined inside the class, they are also called as to be the member, and the second is the method. So methods and the variable, typically they are always called to be the members of a class. Now, coming to the methods, there are of two different forms of methods: procedures and functions. Now, procedures are typically those a kind of method which does not returns anything to the calling environment, and that is the reason the return type of every procedure would always going to be void. On the other hand, functions are those methods which typically returns and always return something to the calling environment. And now that return could be primitive as well as object data type record. All right. So and the one further thing that I have added to the discussion was there are again two forms of the methods: parameterized methods, non-parameterized methods. So whenever you don't give anything inside, first of all, what is a method looks like to be? So this is the syntax. Anywhere in the program, when you see a name along with the opening and a closing round bracket, that typically is something called as a method. If the return type is void, it's a procedure. If return type is not void, rather it's something, could be an integer, string, or any type of things, any type of data type, primitive or as object, then it's a function. But in both of the cases, you will have to check for this. If this bracket do have some parameter, that is called as parameterized method. And if it doesn't have anything, this is called as non-parameterized method. So that was all we have seen in the last session. Now I was about to take a program for this. So let me do that. So I would be taking this class, I would be creating, write an Apex program to insert a contact record, only one contact record. That's pretty simple program. So I would be creating a class with this name. Let me go to the Salesforce quickly and developer console. And I would be opening new, creating a new class with this name called contacts helper. And my intention over here is to let me copy this, write a program to insert one contact record. All right. So my intention is to create a program that would be going to insert one of the contact records. So, all right. Now that we know one concept of ORM, object relationship and mapping. Now, according to ORM, every object is a class. You know this, right? Every object is a class. So I wanted to create a record inside contact. Now, considering contact as a class, considering contact as a class, if I wanted to create a record inside this object, is inside this class, I first of all would require to create a temporary object, a temporary variable, a temporary, what to say would be like a temporary representative of this class contact. So how to create an object of any class is pretty simple thing, and you already did this so many times. So I would be creating a method for this. I would be creating a procedure for this. All right. So procedure must always be defined. The methods must always be defined along with an access specifier. So that access specifier in this case is public, and I'm making it void. Why void? Because I wanted this method to become a procedure. I wanted this method to become a procedure. Any method where the return type is void, any method where the return type is void, any such method where the return type is void is called as procedure. All right. So I would be creating a procedure with a name like create new contact with this name. I am creating a method. All right, I'm creating a method. Now this method typically is a procedure. Why? Because the return type is void. All right, so I wanted to insert one record of contact. So I first of all would require to create a object of contact class. So I'm creating contact con equals to new contact and making this as a default constructor. Now what I just have created, I have created an object called con, and now you're going to see one benefit. See, we did this type of coding, we did this type of coding in the execute anonymous window as well. So here, like, there is an example. You have you can see that I mean I wanted to store a record inside account. So I first of all have created an object ACC of the account, right? But as and when, if I would type, for example, ACC, I put up a dot, there's nothing that automatically pops up. All right, there's nothing that automatically pops up. But see, what is the advantage of coding inside developer console is something you are going to observe right now. So I have created an object of class contact. I have created an object, a temporary variable, a temporary instance of class contact. Now, with respect to this con, I can create a record. And let me show you this con dot c. This is what I was talking about. So the advantage of doing coding in the in the developer console is something called as an automatic help, which is being generated from the Salesforce itself. And now these all are the fields inside the contact object. So for example, I wanted to insert first name. All right, first name. See, it's automatically get pop up. You can give the name. This is called as intelligence, by the way, in some of the cases. So apex and then con dot, let's say last, LAST, last name. See, it get automatically pop up. In execute anonymous window, you would have to type the whole thing. You would have to type the whole thing. But when we got this intelligence, our typing efforts is reduced. And that to be, we don't commit any sort of spelling mistakes, any sort of mistakes in the name of the field. When we are doing the same thing in the execute anonymous window, there might be a chance that we could commit mistake while typing the name of the fields. But here there is no such of the chance. We just have to select it from the list. All right. So last name, contact, record. Okay. And then let's con dot, let's say title equals to, you can give anything, software. Lots of typos happening, engineer. And then con dot, you can see the name of all of the fields, every field inside this this contact object, they are being listed out. You just have to select one of them. All right. Con dot, let's say email equals to testing data @test.com. And then con dot, let's say maybe like phone equals to, I can give anything. And then like con dot, let's say fax equals to something like this. And then con dot, I can select like mailing city, Nagpur. And then con dot, let's say mailing country equals to India. Okay, that's much enough. All right. So what I just did is like, I have created a record. I have created a record. All right, I have created a record. Now, see, this record is not committed inside database because we have not given insert statement. So now to make this record to be get stored, right now this is present inside a memory, a temporary memory called as heap. But I wanted this record to be get stored inside database. To make that commitment into database, to make that insertion, I'll have to use a DML statement called as insert. What I wanted to insert, I wanted to insert con. And I have just to verify whether this record has been inserted properly, I would be going with if con dot ID is not equals to null, because if it is not null, it actually indicates the record is inserted. So I'm going to print a message like system.debug the contact record record is what is happening is inserted with id equals to, here again I would like to print con dot id. That's it. Let me now save this program. So one more advantage of doing coding over here is that you can save it. While if you code things inside the execute anonymous window, we can create a program and we can even execute that. But problem, we cannot store it. All right. So let me now execute this program. So to perform the execution, how would you are going to execute this? Let me show you the steps of that as well. All right. So now to perform the execution, the step number one, create object of the class. So the step number one is to create the object of the class. How would you going to create the object? It's the same step like you did it over here. See, contact also itself is a class. All right. Similarly, you have created a class with the name called contact helper. So you first of all, while if you wanted to execute this, you first of all would require to create an object. So how to do that? Class name, right? Class name. Then your object name, you can give any name for this. For example, let's say con helper equals to, once again, class name, and make this as a default constructor. Make this as a default constructor. A new keyword of, I almost forgot that. New and then a default constructor. So this is how like we can create the object of any class, So this is my custom class. So the first step of execution of this is like, you first of all would require to create an object. And then second, in the step number 2, invoke the method by giving object name dot method name. So this is the way to invoke that method. What is the name of method which is doing this all insertion and everything? The method name is create new contact. I wanted this method to be get called. I wanted this method to be get executed. So I wanted this method to be get invoked. So how to invoke this method? You first of all would require to take the name of the object what you have created. So for this class, I have created a method, right? And with this method, I'm going to call, usually in intelligence come over here as well, but if it's not coming, we can copy and paste it. See, I've given the name of the object and I'm calling this method. That's it. So let me first of all go to the contact and see if we have Apex contact record, any such contact with the name called Apex contact record. So I'll going with the list of all contacts, and there's no such contact with a name called Apex contact. See, so now I would be executing this. Let's execute this. So go and debug. So the contact record is inserted. See, the ID is also generated 003 means contact. Now, if I would go and I would refresh this, So I'm going to find it, or what was the last name? Contact. All right, let me go to the list of C. See, contact record Apex. So this is the record that has been inserted. See, you know this, like we already committed similar type of programs, but then we have executed them in the execute anonymous window. And now what we are doing, we are creating a class. Inside the class, we are creating a method. Inside the method, we are creating the record, and then we are inserting. And this is the standard way of doing this, right? Because you can save it. You can save if you would even close it, right? You can anytime you can come back and you can open that class. What was the name? Contacts helper, right? Contact anywhere you can come back and then you can reopen. You can do your work once again onto this. This is actually the standard way of writing those kind of business logic. So we always create a class. Inside the class, we create the methods, and the whole business logic. My whole business logic always is present inside a method. Now, this method in this case is a procedure because the return type is void. Now, just adding one more thing into this. This is a procedure. First of all, this is a procedure, and it's a non-parameterized procedure. Why? Because there is no parameter is being defined inside the methods. This is what does it means by a non-parameterized procedure. All right. To go with this example, you have one more. In the assignment, you have to create a record and a related record with this. You did the similar kind of program, but with the execute anonymous window, where you have maybe you have created an account and related contacts to that. All right. Or maybe you have created account and related opportunity or case, I guess. But then you created a similar kind of program. All right, in the past. Now that same program you'll have to create inside a method, inside a class. So go with this program, wherein you would be required to first of all create a hiring manager record, and related to that hiring manager, you have to create a position. Okay, so go with this, take this in this assignment. Now I'm coming to the second type of this, which is actually is a parameterized procedure. So if there is a parameter, if the method is taking a parameter, how we can define that parameter and how to give that. Let's understand this as well. All right. So the first thing, whenever you are giving a parameter, the parameters are always given inside in this, inside that square, that round bracket. Whenever you are giving a parameter, the parameters are always given inside over here. And whenever like procedure name, that opening bracket, closing bracket, and then within the bracket, we always have to give the parameters. Now, you can give any number of the parameters. There's no restriction. There is no restriction at all. And you can simply give any number of the parameters, condition to how much you required to execute your business logic. Now, whenever you are giving a parameter must always be escorted with the data type. The parameter must always be escorted with the data type. It must contain data type in the beginning of itself. Whatever is going to be the data type, it could be any primitive data type, could also be an S object, like integers, strings, IDs, date, Boolean. But it must always, every parameter must always have a data type. If you don't mention, your Apex compiler would going to generate a compilation error at that time. All right. So this is what does like how we can give the parameters. Let's take a program and let's try to understand this. So I would be going with the program, that Apex program, write a program to perform all sort of mathematical operations. All right. So I'm going to create a class with this name. Let me create a new class and let me show you how we can pass the parameters inside the methods. So I have this class. Now inside in this class, I would be going to create a method first of all. So method must always be public. And here, see here in the previous program, we have written public void method name. All right, public void method name. I'm going to introduce something special this time. Okay, public, let's say void. All right, public void and addition. So this is going to be my method. This is going to be my method. I'm going to make few changes. I'm going to make it a parameterized method. But even before that, let me show you something and you're going to understand what is the advantage of this. I would be making this method as a static method. So public static and then void. Public static void, the name of the method. So what is going to be the benefit of making a method as static? In this case, this method is not static. In this case, the method is not static. In this case, the method is not static. So how you have executed that method, this is the step. How you have executed the method, this is the step. So any such method, please mind my words, any such method which is non-static, any such method which is a non-static method, you have to execute that method by following these two steps. Any such method which is a non-static method, you have to execute that method by following these two steps. Any such method which is a non-static method, you have to execute that method by using these two steps. What are those two steps? In the first step, you first of all would require to create an object of the class, because this method create a new contact. This method belongs to contacts helper class. I first of all have created a object. How to create an object? You know this. And now you can invoke this method. You can call this method. You can execute this method by this process, like object name dot method name. So the object name is con helper, object name con helper dot method name is create contact. So this is the way Your batch is 208, I guess. Yeah, 208. So this is the way to call, to invoke those kinds of method which are non-static. All right. Now I have defined a method. But that method, I make it a method as a static method. Now, what are going to be the advantage? We are going to see this. Oh, yeah. All right. Just give me a moment. Let me decompose. I'm actually tired today. You know, it's really difficult to fast for a complete whole day without water. Just a moment. Yes. So, so I have to show you two things over here. The first is like, this is a non-parameterized method and a non-static method. It's a non-parameterized and a non-static method. This method, although I am making it parameterized method, and this one is a static method. So simultaneously with this example, we are going to understand two things out of this context. All right, let's see that. So I would be passing, let's say, two integer variables. Let's say number 1, comma integer number 2. So I would be passing two integer variables. So whenever this method would be invoked, whenever this method is going to be get invoked, it must have two integers. We're going to see this in the output. If not, it's going to throw the error system.debug. The result of addition equals to plus what I wanted. Because see, I wanted to perform the addition, so I have taken a bracket. Number one, sorry, plus what? Num2, number 2, right? Number 2. So this is going to be get, first this operation would going to be get performed, and whatever the result is going to be get generated is going to be get printed. All right. So that was about addition. Let me create another method, second method, public but static. What? Void. Let's say subtraction. And again, in the subtraction, let me supply two integer variables. Subtraction. And I would be going to perform subtraction. So system.debug. The result of subtraction equals to plus what? Let me go with this. Num1 minus num2. Let me create another method. Let's say public static void multiplication. So for multiplication, again, I would be supplying two integer variables. I can do like, integer, let's say x. I have only 10 minutes remaining for this meeting. So it may happen that the meeting is going to be get shut automatically after 10 minutes. If this happens, you guys are going to be joined once again with the same link. All right. Integer x and then integer y. So these are the two parameters I'm supplying, and let's say the system.debug. The result of multiplication equals to plus, I wanted to print like what? X. Where is multiply? Yeah, multiply by y. And then let me have a method for division as well. So public static void division. Let's say integer numerator, comma. 1 second. Yes. Numerator, and let's say let's have one more variable called integer denominator. I hope I'm writing denominator and ATR denominator. Yes. And then system.debug. The result of division equals to plus your numerator slash denominator, but denominator ideally is not have to be 0. Otherwise, you are going to get one error called as math exception, system.math exception. And let me try to save this. All right, so we don't have any errors. We don't see any errors. So this is these kind of methods. These kinds of methods which have certain parameters into this. They are first of all called as parameterized methods. Now, because the return type is void, I would rather say these are parameterized. Sorry, these are parameterized procedures. These are parameterized procedures. Now, all of those methods, I have defined them with a static keyword. So let's try to understand what is the difference between a non-static and a static method. So let me revise this once again. So whenever you would performing the execution of a non-static method, this is the process that you have to follow. In the first step, you would require to create the object of the class, that particular class. And then you'll have to invoke, and how to invoke class now object name dot method name. All right. Now, these all are the static methods. Now, what is the benefit of them is like, you simply don't require step number 1. You simply don't require step number 1. Actually, you don't require these 2 steps. So how to invoke a static method? Like addition is a static method. Subtraction is also static. Multiplication, division, all of them are static methods. How you can invoke them? How you can invoke them? Please see the difference. Please see the difference. Please see the difference. Class name dot class name dot. Do you see anything? I'm giving you the command. You can unmute yourself to tell me this. What is the difference that you have observed just now? Class name dot method name. Directly you can give. You simply don't requires to create the object of this. Class name dot method name. Class name dot method name. This is the first advantage, and the second advantage is as soon as you put up a dot in front of a class, as soon as it was going to show you all the methods of that particular class. So this is what is the benefit. This is what is the benefit. This is what is the benefit, right? Class name dot method name. And that is the major difference between invoking a static method and invoking a non-static method, right? So any such method which is static, it can be invoked directly just by giving the name of class name, method name. Class name, method name. And that is what is the major difference between this. Understood? Now, when I'm invoking addition, I'll have to give 2 integer numbers. So I'm giving, let's say 20 and let's say 30. When I'm invoking division, 100 divided by 20. Multiplication, 4 multiplied by 10. Subtraction, 30 subtracted to 20. I'm not interested in what to say. The outcome is obviously going to come. Debug. These are the results, right? So that was, I have 3 more minutes and we can conclude. You don't require to join. Let me conclude this. So that was like how we can go with procedure and parameterized and non-parameterized procedures. So go with all these examples, like this is one of the example, and there are few more by passing the values and runtime. So go with all of them. If you would find any difficulty with, right, just see whenever you are posting something to me, the first thing would be like the way I used to take the screenshot, the same way you will have to take it. And please post me the complete class code in one screenshot, and then second screenshot just let me know what is the error you are getting. All right, you what happens usually is like, you guys used to post me, but then you do not post me some the complete code, rather a portion of that. So it's not necessary that your error is going to be located. I'm going to locate into that particular portion only. So whenever you are posting something, just try to post all of that. If it does not accommodate it into a single screenshot, you can take two of them, no problem. Go with all these examples. That's very much essential. And in the next lecture, I would going to be start with the new concept, entirely a new concept called collection. That's all for today. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask. You have 2 minutes more. Any questions? Any questions? All right, then. Thank you so much for joining. Good night.